Definitely, yes, yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the new episode of Pod of the Dead. I am your host, Nicholas, and with me, as always, are the two fabulous ladies, Stephanie and Natasha.
Hello.
Hi.
So on today's episode, we will be covering the 1985 horror comedy splatter gore flick ReAnimator by Stuart Gordon. What are your ladies' history with this film prior to seeing it for the podcast?
I didn't know much about it besides through you, and I didn't know, other than like by the title of it, what it probably encompassed, but nothing. I didn't know nothing. I just heard it was like a really old movie that was a horror flick that was supposed to be comedy, and that's about the length of what I know about it prior to this. Oh, and that it was an H.P. Lovecraft story. I did know that.
Basically the same. I knew you liked it, and yeah, I knew nothing really about the premise or anything like that until jumping in.
Before we really get into it and stuff, this is a movie club. So at the end of the episode, we will be telling you what we will be watching next for the following episode. So make sure to stick around to the end for that. My history with this was I missed this growing up. This wasn't something that I saw at a younger age and stuff. I think it was in my early 20s when I happened upon it. It was at a Family Video had it on sale one time. They were selling out some of their movies and stuff, and I was like, 80s horror, I'm down with this. And this was also around the same time that I started getting into H.P. Lovecraft writing and stuff, and it's very prominently titled above it, H.P. Lovecraft's ReAnimator. I was like, oh hell yeah. And then it's just been a love story between me and this movie since then. This movie tickles me in so many different ways. But
Yep.
And it sounds like you ladies loved it as well.
No.
Well, sure. Well, there were some redeeming qualities.
Oh.
Sure.
All of them. All of the redeeming qualities.
No.
All right. So, ReAnimator, also known as H.P. Lovecraft's ReAnimator, is a 1985 American comedy horror film loosely based on the 1922 H.P. Lovecraft serial novelette Herbert West ReAnimator. Directed by Stuart Gordon and produced by Brian Usna, the film stars Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West, a medical student who has invented a reagent which can reanimate deceased bodies. He and his classmate, Dan Kane, played by Bruce Abbott, begin to test the serum on dead human bodies and conflict with Dr. Carl Hill, played by David Gale, who is infatuated with Kane's fiancée, played by Barbara Crampton, and wants to claim the invention as his own. Now, without knowing really anything, how much, mind you, this was made in 1985, and it didn't have a wide distribution or anything. How much do you think the budget was for this movie?
I'm going to say in 1985, I'm going to say $5 million.
Wrong. This was $1 million.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And do you think in 1985 it recouped its money at all?
No.
You don't think so?
Not in 1985. Well, no, maybe, because we did watch that part at the end of it that said it did okay when it released, so maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm torn because it's known as a cult classic, which then makes me think that it wasn't well received when it first came out.
It made its money back plus some, so it made $2 million in the box office. It definitely hit its stride coming home to VHS, which the original releases on VHS were the R-rated cuts. The really interesting thing about this movie was they knew how shocking, bloody, gory, and nudity-filled this film was, that they didn't even bother going to the MPAA to get it rated. So, because they knew if they put it up for rating, it would have got an X rating. which then no theater would show it. So they just kind of shopped it around and got it into some theaters and got it into film festivals. It actually won some awards for the year that it came out for like in horror and stuff like that.
So was it listed as not rated then in the theater?
I believe so, yeah.
I think it's unrated or
Gotcha.
something like that. Yeah, they said last night we watched some extra features that were on the film. Well, I barely watched them, but I picked up pieces of it. But they were talking about how they didn't go for ratings because they knew that when you go for ratings and they put specific ratings on it, they make you take out all the good stuff, is what they said. So they were like, we're not doing this. And then last night when we were talking about this, because I was like, I wonder how much this movie cost. And then he told me, so I already knew before we went into this, but I was like, I wonder, because that came out the same year that we were born, and a movie that is one of my most favorite movies, which is The Labyrinth, came out in 1986. So I was like, I wonder what the difference is like in the cost, because like they're not in the same genre, but like they do have a lot of special effects. One of them's a Muppet made movie by Jim Henson, so obviously has a bigger budget. That movie had like a $25 million budget
Oh my God.
in 1986.
Wow.
Yeah, and then this movie had $1 million budget. So I was like, that is insane. Yeah, and then that movie is classic now. It's like a cult classic now, The Labyrinth is. And that movie bombed when it was released. So I was like, I wasn't sure how it was going to fall with all of that. But it's just crazy to think of like how much money is put into some of these films. It's crazy.
Is The Labyrinth the same as Pan's Labyrinth?
No.
With the guy with the eyes? Oh.
No,
this one's with David Bowie in it. It's like a Jim Henson movie. It was like the last movie he directed before he passed away or something along those lines.
yeah, it was the last movie he directed. He had the Jim Henson Company produced and did special effects and stuff like that for other films after, but it was his last directorial movie. I think the reason, though, that Labyrinth was $25 million budget was because $24 million of that budget went to David Bowie's Cod piece.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So it was just interesting to see, like, in that time period, what we're talking budget films. I mean, one's fantasy and the other one's horror, but you know, it was interesting.
So before we go any further, we're going to throw up the spoiler warning. Pot of the Dead definitely digs in and kind of goes scene by scene a little bit, talking about the movie. So listening beyond this point will kind of ruin the film for you if you have any interest in seeing it. If not, if you just want to stick around and listen to us bullshit and talk about the film, you're more than welcome to stay. But before we get into all the juicy details, we do have a couple reviews found on the web. So there is one of you was sent a 10 out of 10 review of ReAnimator, and one of you was sent a 1 out of 10 review. Let's go with the 10 out of 10 first this time.
That's me. Okay. Exploding eyeballs, zombie cats, and reanimation serums, and talking heads. If this is the kind of crazy stuff that goes on in the Miskatonic University, then I want to attend. When the violins cue up the psycho-esque music intro, you know you're in for a treat. ReAnimator takes horror and black humor to new levels of gruesomeness and hilarity. It's Frankenstein on acid. There's gore galore, and zombies run wild as our heroes go from one escapade to the next. The heroes, of course, are Jeffrey Combs and Bruce Abbott. They're perfect. Jeffrey Combs' portrayal of Dr. Herbert West is definitely a memorable one. Combs is at his creepiest as the title character, yet very likable, and Abbott plays a genuine good guy role of Dr. Kane. Some of these scenes are unforgettable. The basement scene with the swinging light and epic climax in the morgue, to name a few. I love the ending as well. ReAnimator is altogether one of the best horror films ever. Combs, director Stuart Gordon, and producer Brian Usna make an unbeatable combination. Look for the unrated version so you can see the infamous, quote, head scene. Thank you.
Yeah, we saw that scene.
I didn't.
Oh,
So you got lucky.
well, I'll show it to you.
Maybe. I know
No.
I know of a head scene. I don't know if there's another one.
Just the head going between the legs.
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
I know that.
Oh, thank
the
you.
head-
Thank you. I am so glad you were spared
Yeah.
that. That was
Saw
no.
the decapitation and then the head and it kept tipping and
I love that. That scene kills me every time.
it's my favorite.
Okay, I guess it's
All right.
my turn.
All
All right,
Yeah.
all right, Steph, let's hear that
Okay.
those lies, the 1 out of 10. The only one I could find.
That's nuts.
Okay, it's very long, guys, so I'm just warning you now. This is usually the go ahead for the 1 out of 10s, right?
Yeah.
So, what do I define as a 1-star movie? A movie that was complete, utter waste of time. Like almost every zombie movie, excluding The Evil Dead, ReAnimator is just pointless. The plot lacks any facet of originality and left me with the comment, why did they even feel the need to make a movie? We've seen it all before so many times. Big exclamation points here. Feeling in my gut. There was not a single thing ReAnimator had that other movies that came out before it didn't have. The plot follows the same cliche zombie films have always followed from their birth, and the characters are just as boring and forgettable. Okay. Average, let's get a girl in bed in the opening scene, doctor. Average mad scientist, downright cliche evil teacher can? Okay. You can name a more cliche cast for a cliche movie.
Jeez.
This is when most of you who love this film will be arguing back, but it's meant to be a comedy. Who cares if it's an original? To which I will have to say that even the humorous moments were pathetically unoriginal.
What?
I actually
No.
agree. This movie was not funny, and it was not original.
God.
So I completely agree with this reviewer in
episode's
that.
over.
It wasn't funny.
This
It
episode's
wasn't
so
funny.
fucking over. I am fucking done.
Okay, before I finish this very long review, Tasha, did you laugh in this film?
The only part I laughed at was when the head tipped.
Are you fucking
And then he
serious?
kept like, I swear to you, I had a hard time getting through
The
this.
cat scene did not.
No.
Oh my fucking god.
No, that was horrible. That was not even funny
my
at
God.
all. No, this movie was not funny. I don't even know if I laughed once.
Yeah. I chuckled. It was
Okay.
like a.
Any listeners?
That was
Any
really-
listeners want a
Yeah.
co-hosting spot? DM me on Pod of the Dead Facebook group, Instagram. You know.
Apparently 2 slots just opened
Yep.
up.
Yeah, apparently.
God.
Okay, so here we go. We're not done.
Okay.
We still have paragraphs to go. It says, ha ha ha. I've seen that joke so many times, I'm not even sure I can call it a joke anymore. Humor, ha ha, oh ha. Once you use a joke, it's no longer funny, and every joke in ReAnimator has been used in every predictable zombie movie ever. Same humorous situation, same slapstick gore that wasn't even slapstick to us anymore. I mean, if you didn't see any those old zombie movies, which I have not, I would say that you wouldn't be able to draw from this, but apparently this person is really into old
Yeah.
Prior to
zombies.
this film, the only film that really comes to mind that's like a zombie film that has comedy in it is Return of the Living Dead. It's a completely different story, like 100%. Like the fact that it's like he or she is saying like it's tired, it's old hat. It's like it's 1985, and like the horror comedy zombie tropes like are not. It's like Shaun of the Dead hasn't come out. Like if you've watched all that stuff and then you go back and watch ReAnimator, you're gonna be like, oh, these are old hat. It's because other movies are probably paying like an homage to the films prior to it. So
I don't know. So speaking of gore, what is everyone talking about when they call this insanely gory? The gore is just average, if not a little below average. That is such a fucking lie.
Again, that's comparable to like
average amount of gore.
An average amount of horror. I like gore movies, and this movie is bloody as bloody
yeah,
can
like
be.
again,
It's a lot.
1985. Like you didn't get this much gore in like films like back then, like that were getting distributed. You know, we weren't like Hostel came out in 2006, I think. Like that was later on, like, or maybe 2008. Anyway, that was way later on. If you've seen Hostel, then you go back. It's like, I don't know what anybody's talking about. It's like, yeah, you're talking about films that came out 30 years after.
Well, like Starship Troopers was a movie that was really gory at the time, and that came out in the 90s. And like that was in itself like a different such situation with just its level at the time. That was kind of the shock value, but that was also a comedy as well. That was like alien
it's a
comedy. I
satire.
loved that movie. Yeah. But this is 1985 here. So like, but I also don't have a lot of reference. But when did the thing come out?
The Thing came out in 1982.
So that has the gore.
Well, I mean, if you're just talking about strictly gore, in I want to say it's the late 70s, you have Cannibal Holocaust, which is the movie I was telling you about where the director actually like had all of the cast. Had all
them.
Yep, I hid them for a year after the film because it's one of the original found footage films, and like the entire cast gets killed by cannibals.
Oh, damn.
So the director actually got taken up on murder charges because people thought that he actually had these people killed on film and stuff, because it is very bothersome. Like the film crosses a lot of lines and everything.
So you said that
like,
he had the cast hide for a year?
Yeah, they basically like went off the grid for a year when they signed their contracts and stuff like that.
To really like drive it home.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's one of those things where, is this the goriest film I've ever seen? Absolutely not. Is it extremely gory for its time? Absolutely. Like, this film is responsible for pushing the envelope in the 80s at its time. Because like the Friday the 13th films were getting cut all to hell when they were coming out in the 80s because they wanted to get into theaters, but they would just straight up cut out kill scenes in those films because they were deemed too graphic. And then they were just like, fuck it, we want to put out this thing. We want it to be as crazy as we envision it, and they did it.
And they did it, yeah, for sure. Okay, so it's the same generic amount of graphicness you'll see in any and every zombie movie. Again, what? I'll really never understand how movies like this get hailed as being brilliant classics just because they're old, and modern movies get trashed for being too predictable. Really? Am I the only one who sees the irony in that statement? Overall, ReAnimator was a dull waste of time. Nothing you haven't seen hundreds of times. The humor is so generic, it's unfunny. Agreed.
No.
The gore is average. Wrong. It's gory. Yeah. The plot is so unoriginal. I really didn't know who even had the stupid idea to make this a movie. I can name a lot of other Lovecraft stories that would have been much better movies. Oh, and did I mention most of the runtime is just a bunch of naked men running around? Now that's disturbing. Not the gore. It wasn't just men.
Yeah.
It was women too. You got titty shots like left and fucking right in this movie.
Yeah, Tasha didn't watch the unrated version, so I don't know if she got to see as much zombie dong as we did.
No. Mm-mm.
Oh my god, you got
spared.
to see you got bush, mean
God.
full on lady bits, and you got this ass after ass after ass. Like this movie was so like, do not let your children watch this movie until they are at least
10
later teenagers.
10?
No.
What's Wyatt up
Our
to
kids-
next weekend?
Yeah.
Not coming
Funny.
over. That's
Not watching that
not
movie.
coming
Jesus.
I'll send him home with one of my copies.
Great.
Oh my god.
Quickly
terrible.
go just in the
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Okay, so now that's the end of our 1-star review.
I don't
And
agree
we can
with
kind
that.
of
now that Nick is properly lit up.
I am so angry.
I think he had this high expectation that like one of us was probably going to think this movie was great, or like in the same realm, at least somewhat, like he liked it, that we liked it like he did.
I didn't expect you guys to like it. I expected you guys to be kind of revolted by it in a way. But then like I am completely beside myself that nobody found it funny.
Oh.
That's what blows my mind.
No.
It's not my kind of humor.
Mine either.
Oh man, it's mine.
But this is like the same kind of humor that if you're a guy who likes watching people fall down on skis and like tumble down a mountain and break their leg, then you think that's hilarious. This movie would be very much up your alley. And yes, you show me videos like that all the time.
As Nick slowly raises his hand.
Yeah.
I was raised on sports bloopers and America's Funniest Home Videos. Someone getting hit in the nuts with a wiffle ball bat is going to make me laugh every time. And if a cat is going to be attacking someone and it's clearly just pinned onto the back of their shirt and they're swinging around nonstop, like, get off me! I'm going to die laughing.
Yeah, you have to like that humor, and like that is not my cup of tea at all. Like if I see somebody get hit in the nuts with a wiffle ball bat, I'm not laughing. I'm like, are you okay?
I'm cringing as if it just happened to me.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where I am.
In the immortal words of Sum 41, it's like, you don't know us at all. We laugh when old people fall.
Yeah.
And that's me.
Yeah, no, that's terrible.
I will say, I think if I would have seen this done like in community theater or something, I would have found it a lot funnier because it reminded me of I saw a production of The Evil Dead done in community theater, very pared down, very gritty, and that's what this movie reminded me of. So like as a movie, I didn't like it and it wasn't funny, but I bet if I was in like a group of people and saw that slapstick stuff, it would probably hit a little different.
Two things. Stuart Gordon originally wanted to make this a theater play because that's where his history was from.
It has a very theater, like how the flow of it goes.
Yep. So like that was his initial plan for it. Okay. Secondly, there is a ReAnimator the musical stage play that somebody has made that I have not seen yet. But on my Arrow video release version of it, there is a documentary or interview with the lyricist from the ReAnimator musical that I am going to watch soon.
Yeah. Yep.
Steph is so excited.
Yeah. So excited.
I'll have to drop a line to the theater people in the area and see if they can do the music.
Oh, hell yeah. Side note, the only like local theater thing that I've ever seen that like was something I wanted to go see was I saw a local I'm not going to say what town it was because that'll tell people where we're at and stuff, but I saw a local theater troupe perform Spam-A-Lot, which is the Monty Python's Holy Grail musical, and that was fantastic. That's
awesome. If you guys have community theater around you, I highly recommend checking it out. Your community theaters can have really good stuff.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Get into the movie.
Yep. With no further ado, we start in Switzerland. I have Germany written down.
I did too.
I thought it was Munich.
That's what I have. I thought it was too.
Oh, okay. Maybe it is Munich, but like he just keeps referring to the fact that he was in Switzerland, so that's why. Okay.
I don't know.
It's
Germany by way.
Zurich.
Oh, okay.
Zurich Institute of Medicine in Switzerland.
Gotcha. And there are screams coming from behind a door as a nurse, I believe, runs up to the door and is banging on the door, yelling, "Doctor." Some guards come in, they bust down the door, and they see a man writhing on the ground, and we see Herbert West there. And we are given like instantly in this movie. It doesn't hold back. In the first few minutes, you get a doctor standing up, his eyes bulging. They erupt into blood and gore. He falls down, and what looks like maybe another doctor looks at him, or no, it's the nurse looks at him and is like, "Oh no, you've killed him." He's like, I have not killed him. I gave him life.
Yep.
So you're kind of given like this whole thing. And then I didn't know that this was such a big deal because I always refer to like when we watched Trick or Treat, I was like, oh, the music is very reminiscent of the ReAnimator theme. What I should be saying is that it's reminiscent of the Psycho theme, which I haven't seen Psycho in forever. All I remember is just the read part of it, like when it comes to the score. But I guess like the composer who is also one of the not one of the producers. He was he ran the production company. He got a lot of flack for kind of ripping off or aping the Psycho theme for this. So I guess the Trick or Treat theme is more reminiscent of the Psycho theme. So anybody that is screaming from the highest Hitchcock towers about how I should give credit where credit's due, I'm sorry.
Doing it.
But yep. But also the intros to this film. I was watching the documentary on this. The intro, so it's got the music that's very Psycho-esque, and the intro like scene with like all the pinks and greens and everything. I don't have his name in front of me here, but it's done by a guy who basically does all of the intros for like Tim Burton's films now.
Cool.
And stuff. Like, I guess he's become kind of a big deal in Hollywood for doing intros and stuff like that. But then we cut to Miskatonic University in Arkham, Massachusetts. This is one of the cities, one of the biggest cities that Lovecraft hosted a lot of his stories in. And Steph's got a little history with Lovecraft due to a game that we play from time to time.
Yeah, we when we watched this, I was like, "Where did the Arkham?" Well, because at first that my head went to, "Oh, that's Batman," you know, like that. And then I was like, "Wait a minute!" And then it was Miskatonic University, and I was like, "We played the Arkham Horror card game, and we have fought many a demons and all kinds of really messed up creatures in the school in our card game, and we have got our asses handed to us multiple times from this card game. I mean, it pulls no punches. It's like, it's not a game that is for the faint of heart, because part of the time I'm just like, fuck this game, I don't want to play this anymore. But
yeah, it's very tense. It is very. Yes. But we cut to someone flatlining, and we see Dr. Kane trying to resuscitate her, and he's a medical student. That it seems like maybe the doctor or is she a doctor, do you think, the lady with the glasses?
I think she's a nurse, probably. A top. That's what she comes across to me, at least.
Okay. All I know about her is that she's Stuart Gordon's wife, and she shows up in a lot of his films. So, but well, this is also the first part you get your first set of titties. Like it's like we're gonna do CPR, but then we're also gonna show you boobs. Sometimes you just gotta get there. You know, like, it's not about boobs; it's about saving this woman's life, which they fail at. Mm-hmm. And she tells him that a good doctor knows when to stop, which I think is kind of a nice little thing to show like what is about to happen. Mm-hmm. Like explaining the thing of like a good doctor and a mad doctor. He then begins, Dr. Kane begins to wheel a corpse into the deep freeze, and we are introduced to Dean Halsey and Herbert West and Dr. Carl Hill. All like, it's on exposition dump, but it's literally just like, here's basically all of your characters.
Yeah,
like,
I had a hard time following who was who.
I did too.
Yep. So you've got the Dean, Halsey, Herbert West, and Dr. Carl Hill all standing there talking. The Dean is talking about how Dr. Kane is one of their most promising students, and introduces him to Mr. West. And West has just spent time in Switzerland, researching and learning under the studies of Dr. Hans Gruber.
Yes.
Which but 3 years after this, Die Hard comes out with the main bad guy being Hans Gruber.
Yeah. That's all I could focus on.
I had it in my head. This was the first time that I've heard it, and then thought, and I was like, that's not his name, right? And then they say it again, and I'm just like, is he fucking saying Hans Gruber? Like,
he's fucking saying Hans Gruber.
He's fucking saying Hans Gruber. Like, so I don't know if there's a through line, if like Hans Gruber, the terrorist, stole the identity of Hans Gruber, the doctor, and then came to the state. I don't know.
Or maybe he was reanimated and then he came back and he was the bad guy in that movie.
All right, Steph, you got your job back. So there is only one opening on Pot of the Dead. Casa,
I'm not gonna be redeeming myself. It's been fun.
So then it basically becomes a dick measuring contest between West and Dr. Hill, where Dr. Hill is talking about the dean's talking about how Dr. Hill has gotten them so many grants or funding, all this funding and stuff because of his stuff, and West basically is just straight up calling him out to his face about how he's basically plagiarized Hans Gruber and how his teachings are pathetic in this day and age. Then we get it cuts to the next scene where Barbara Crampton enters the chat and straight up just in a sex scene right off the rip.
Yep. Yep. Like we're in bed, we're doing it, and it's like this abrupt thing with it, and it was so cheesy.
Oh, yeah.
It was very cheesy.
When the bed is a rockin', don't come a knockin'. Like they are getting it in hard. And another thing that I didn't notice, but Steph did, was there is a poster on the wall for the band The Talking Heads, which again, foreshadowing for what is to come in the film.
Yep.
Clever.
So Rufus the black cat ruins the post-sex cuddle by jumping off of Dr. Kane's back. And it's at this time Barbara is talking, or her name's Barbara, right? Or not, no, Barbara Crampton. Her name's Megan.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I can't even remember most of their names. They're just doctors and people. That's
It's just the pilot episode for ER is all it really is. George Clooney playing Herbert West.
I like it.
So we at this time we find out through the conversation between Meg and what's his name, Dan, that she is the dean's daughter. So he's fucking the dean's daughter, and she's telling him, like, I guess they're engaged, and she'll finally marry him when he gets his residency, I believe is what she says.
Yeah, I didn't catch any of that.
You were just caught up with the cat and the Talking Heads poster.
So Dan,
I was just shaking my head.
Dan and West know each other?
Dan and West, yeah, just lightly. They just met each other in the.
Okay.
Yep, they just met each other in the morgue just mere minutes ago.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
And then West shows up at the apartment after
She's getting ready to leave.
Yep, he's chasing her around, like wearing a sheet and everything, and West is at the door. I don't even think he's knocked yet. Like she's about to leave, and he's just there. Okay. And West is there looking for the room that Kane has put up for rent.
Rent, and the numbers were 666 is the name of the house.
Yeah, the address. Why the hell not?
Yeah, but then when he answers the door, it's like Wes is just standing there and the woman's getting ready to leave. And this is what I found really strange. It was like he has this towel or a sheet wrapped around him and he's acting like he's all modest and stuff. But you can clearly see his boxer shorts underneath his thing. And I was like, if you want us to be convinced that you're naked, because this whole movie does naked, then maybe you shouldn't be wearing boxer shorts right now. Like, this was super weird.
Maybe he fucks through the boxer shorts.
Maybe he did. Yeah.
You don't know. You were at the point of this movie, you weren't born yet.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, you were born the next day.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, this movie takes place one day before her birthday.
Gotcha.
Technically. Yep. They name drop it and everything.
Yep.
So West is asking Kane, like, about the place and asks if the building has a basement. Kane shows in the basement, and West is just ecstatic about it. He's like, I'm ready to move in now, like pulling the cash out. It's like, you will never know I'm here except for on the first of the month and everything. And Meg is just like, well, wait, like, seems kind of weird and all this stuff, like kind of out of nowhere. Like at this point, I don't think Herbert West is being too weird. Like he's like, hey, I'm here for this. I saw it. Does it have this? Here's the money. I've got my things in the car. He's ready to move in now. And then she asks why he came from Switzerland. Like, what was the deal? Like, why did you start coming to school here? And he said there was no more I could learn there. And then we cut to what I just have as operating class. I'm not a fucking doctor. I don't know what this class would be considered. They're cutting up in the top of a skull.
Operating class.
Yeah, operating class. And it's with Dr. Hill. He is scalping, basically. He's getting ready to extract the brain from a cadaver.
This was disgusting.
Really?
Yes.
It is really graphic. Like, if you don't like that stuff, yeah.
That sound,
was
too much.
See, but it's I don't find it gratuitous. It looks very real.
Looks real.
It looks very real.
I mean, still isn't appealing.
Yeah, I get that. But it's not like they're not trying to make it gross. They're trying to make it real. And like he refers to
class.
Yeah. In Operating 101, he refers to this part no different than peeling a large orange, and starts talking about brain death and how there's a 6 to 12 minute window before brain death happens. And at this point, when he's talking, he's basically just eyeing down West about, these things, because West has been pushing back about the 6 to 12 minute brain death thing. Mm-hmm. And while he's doing this,
snapping pencils.
Yep. He starts snapping pencils, like that's what he's doing. He's just trying to throw him off of his shit. And Hill just kind of gets fed up with him, and West is talking about, how can you teach such drivel? And basically at the end of the verbal spat, Hill tells him it's going to be a pleasure to fail you, which I thought was like a nice, line of power from him at this point. We then cut to dinner with Hill, Halsey, and Meg. And Hill is given all the creepy vibes.
I wrote Dr. Hill is creepy. That's all I wrote during this time. I didn't put any other notes. I was just like, this movie is, this guy is definitely high on that creep factor.
Oh,
in this
yeah.
Movie. And it just gets worse.
Oh, it gets so much worse.
So gross.
But one thing I don't know if it's at this very point, but it might be. There's a huge scene that's cut out that kind of explains some stuff later on in the film that I didn't really know, because it was always one of those like questions, like spoiler warning's already up, but like, how is he able to control these things with his mind and stuff later on in the film? Like, it doesn't make sense. But I guess there's a deleted scene where you find out that Hill uses like these post-hypnotic suggestions and has used them on the dean and stuff. And that's why later on the dean basically is like throwing West out of school and puts Kane like on a short leash about removing his loans and all this stuff. But they completely cut that out. So like, as you're watching the movie, it just is just like, oh, he's just doing this now. Okay.
It doesn't make any sense. The thing is like, if you're going to play the scene and then you want people to understand where it's going, you should probably leave that scene in, because realistically it makes absolutely no sense. And you're just wondering, like, the plot in this movie, which we will argue about this, I already know this, is very all over the place.
It's awesome.
And it's very weak, I guess. And that's one of the things I don't like about it, because it's a weak plot.
You're a weak plot.
It's okay.
Yeah, the original cut of this film, knowing how much you two love this film, you would have loved the original director's cut that got cut down to 82 minutes. The original cut of this film was 138 minutes, I believe.
Oh my God.
So,
No.
No.
so
I couldn't have sat through that. There's no way. This was a struggle. This was almost, I wouldn't say quite as much of a struggle as
don't
Buffy.
you fucking say
almost.
it. Don't. That's not
Yeah.
even fucking close.
Yes, it is.
Oh my God.
That's what you're. Yeah,
Back to 2 postings. We have 2 openings at Pot of the Dead. God damn it.
It doesn't feel so good to get your movie thrown through like the garbage, does it?
Shut the fuck up.
This is his first round of it, isn't it? Yeah,
I'm the one that suggested Buffy, and it was trash. And then Tasha.
But you thought it was trash.
I did. Yeah,
I don't.
did.
I love this fucking movie.
It's true.
That's true.
I want to get
That's
a tattoo
true.
of Herbert West with the fucking syringe of reagent. I love this movie.
And this was kind of like me and Oculus. Like,
we actually liked Oculus. Like, I liked that movie. This movie I did not like.
You girls are not being nice.
aw.
I'm not here to be nice.
Okay. Anyway. Good Lord.
There are no sacred movies.
Shut up. Don't use my words against me. Anyway, Meg says that she's going to go study at Kane's house, and stop laughing. It's not funny.
Carry on.
You specifically said you didn't laugh during this movie. You're not allowed to laugh during the podcast now. Okay, anyway, they're going to go study, and study time equals sexy time to Kane. He's just trying to get it in again. And Meg mentions how, like, where's Rufus at? Like, I haven't seen him or anything. So he's kind of calling. They start searching for him. And Meg ends up basically breaking into West's room and finds that the refrigerator is open and there is Rufus's body dead and in the refrigerator. And it's at this time that West shows up with Meg screaming to Kane about it. What'd you girls think of this at this point?
It was clearly a stuffed cat. And like, I mean, that's obvious.
Yeah, it's a dead cat, you know, like that you see like for a split second earlier in the movie. And I love cats. Like, we have a cat, Gimli. This doesn't hit, like, it doesn't make me sad, but I know for some people this could be triggering.
It didn't make me sad. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, that's a stuffed cat. So it was stuff like that was just very like low budget. Just, I kind of saw that coming when she was like, where's the cat? I don't know what happened. So
It was just kind of, it was there.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it like triggered you girls or anything, because like
not yet. It does later though. But not
oh
yet.
my God. Okay.
I don't get any like sad vibes or anything like that, but I did realize we've watched so many horror movies where an animal dying is involved, and I hadn't realized how prevalent that was until now.
Yeah, like I don't think that they play this so much as shocking, like shock value.
Okay.
I don't feel anyhow. Where I do feel some films do that, where they're like, oh look, we're gonna do this horrific thing and kill an animal. This it just feels like you get to watch the progression of going from animal to human in the mad scientist realm.
Yeah, but like in like Oculus, that's just a test, like, and you do hear a little bit about it. And then like when we watch The Witch, like that is a very quick, brief, but the sound of that is horrible. Like, it just seems to be a pretty big going trend, I guess.
Good thing this we're not doing John Wick because that's the whole series kind of is pivoted on that.
Yeah.
So she comes in and starts accusing. When West shows up, she starts accusing West of killing it, and West kind of pushes that away and says that it was dead when he found it. He had gotten into the trash and got his head stuck in a jar and suffocated. And they're kind of like, obviously upset about it and stuff, and ask like, well, why didn't you tell us? And he's like, what was I supposed to do? Put a note up that said, dead, cat dead, details later, which gets a chuckle out of me, because I find, like, in that situation, that is a legitimate, like, what did you want me to do? I didn't want it stinking up the house. I didn't want you to just find it in the garbage. Like, so it makes sense in a way, even though you know he's probably killed the cat, but he at the same time, he isn't a murderer on purpose at this point. So it could have happened. It could have done something and gotten into it, and he was like, oh shit, I'm gonna snatch this up and just deal with it. And then once he was caught, he was like, I was gonna tell you about it, where he probably was gonna play it off like, I don't know, he must have ran away. But I personally don't think that he killed the cat.
I agree. I don't think he killed the cat, and I also don't think he has any like social skills. So then it kind of makes sense that he was just like, well, this is a dead cat and I'm going to use it. That kind of like...
Yeah, he doesn't seem to lie a lot in the storyline.
Yeah.
Like he'll evade, like not talking or telling you the whole truth, but like he doesn't seem to just outright lie about things. He's more of a person that just calls you out. I think he gives like sociopath vibes. So like
he's very proud.
Yeah,
it's like an unchecked ego.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is part of a trilogy. There are 2 more movies in this, so his ego goes unchecked further and stuff. So there's like
I won't be watching those.
Oh, I've got Bride of ReAnimator back here and Beyond ReAnimator.
Oh, I'm glad I don't live there.
So we cut to Kane sleeping, and he is awakened by an animalistic shriek in the night. And I have, like, this whole scene, I just have, the cat is back. So Kane starts searching the house to find out, like, Wes, did you hear that sound? And he ends up going down to the basement, falling down the stairs. And I did not know this, but I think it's amazing that this was an accident, because I love the lighting in this scene. When he falls down the stairs and the lights swinging and everything, that was on accident. That was not intended to happen, and it gives a very like kinetic, like frantic feel to this scene, especially with the fact that there is a reanimated cat now down in this basement running amok.
Yep.
So, so he breaks into the basement, and West has gone mad. He is like swinging around, screams like, get it off me, get it off me. And there's basically what looks like almost like a little string backpack attached to his back, and it's the cat, and he's doing all the work. The cat's not doing anything, but he's just swinging himself around, selling the fact that this cat is attached to him, attacking him.
It was lost on me.
Oh my god!
It was terrible graphics.
I thought it was funny. I really do.
Me too.
I look at it no different than like somebody fighting with a Muppet in a movie where it just comes flying onto the screen. They're like, they just throw it off. That's how it hits with me.
Yeah.
Like literally like a stuffed animal coming on. Just like, oh god, no, get it off me. So I just love that about it.
And then he throws it against the wall.
Yep, he throws it against the wall, and then it begins to like start kind of going in circles around the lab, knocking things down and everything. And they find it and hit it with a bat, I believe it is. And he brings it up to the table and explains to West explains to Kane that he brought it back to life. And Kane still is just like, no, you just slowed his heart rate down and you brought him back. Like he was never actually dead. Like he's just not believing it. And West, it just like, it's such a like bad taste, but he just picks up the cat. He's like, the cat's dead, right? And he just drops it. He's like, we agree, the cat is dead, right? So he goes and gets more reagent and brings it back to life. And this is a bothersome scene for some people, but it's so fake looking that it doesn't bother me.
Likewise.
And it's basically like a sock puppet of a black cat covered in stuff that you find at the butcher shop, and just and he finally sees a dead object being reanimated. Kane does, and he's kind of broken a little bit at this point.
But yeah, like, but the only thing my biggest argument with this movie is like they bring back the cat and then they do this multiple other times. And my issue is, and I know this is so stupid because like that's the point of this movie, but like the morality behind all of it and like what these humans and this cat feels when it's reanimated and what its actual like experience is, like, because you're bringing something back from the dead, right? So like what does that entail it on a a biblical sense, or whatever else you may believe. And so like that's kind of where I struggled with this movie. And I'm not a religious person, but like it's the suffering aspect to me.
Well, like to quote Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park, you were so caught up with if you could, you didn't think about if you should.
Yeah.
So that it's the same. It's always the same thing. Frankenstein, Jurassic Park. It's the idea of the unchecked ego, basically run amok, like just being like, I don't care about the consequences. It's about the results, and I can learn from my mistakes and just keep going until I perfect it, which is basically like Icarus flying too close to the sun. It's the same idea.
I read something that West saw, like his personality in this, saw people not as living things, but as machines. So that's why it's referred to as like the reanimation as opposed to coming back to life. So it was like he saw that it was just a broken machine that needed rebuilding more than bringing back to life. And in this, it almost seems like the body's there and the brain's working, but it's that difference between like the brain and the mind. And the mind is gone. So that part is dead and gone, but the body's still there, which is why they're all like zombified.
Yeah,
Yep.
they make the mention that it when they come back, it's only like their carnal instincts.
Yeah.
So
like the lizard brain's in effect.
Yeah. So that's actually kind of why when Hill goes through what he goes through later on in the film, why it's so sexual and stuff.
Oh.
Because I believe that in the documentary and stuff, they basically said it's just pure id. Like when you come back, it's literally just like your desires, and what his desire is Megan.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I never got into this movie to that point. Like, so my love of this film is not like a clinical, like, oh, it's like the ego and the id and all that. Like, that's not where it comes from. But hearing that kind of stuff, it's interesting because it's like, oh, wow, this is like, whether you like it or not, they definitely have a lot deeper like lanes that they're trying to push forward through this.
Yeah. So on the surface, it's just kind of like a zombie exploitation film, but
yeah, but like
slightly deeper.
Yeah, they're trying. Whether they executed it well or not is up to the viewer.
Yeah.
It's at this point that West says that, like, and this is the whole thing of just pure ego, Icarus, and everything, where he's like, I have conquered brain death. He is literally saying that we can defeat death. You will be famous and live lifetimes. Like, it's just this, like, this is where, like, he's definitely like a villain at this point in the film. Like, you're seeing this, but he gets out villained later.
Yeah, big time.
Kane's asking, and this is probably more in the sense of what bothered you, Steph, is it's like, why is he making that sound? And he says, birth is always painful. So like, that's like, it kind of leads into like what you were talking about with, like he's coming back and it's going to be painful. Like, this is not something like, so
yeah.
At this point, Kane goes to the dean at the university and tells him that West has brought the dead back to life, and Dean is pissed, and West is officially expelled from Miskatonic University, and that Kane's loan will be rescinded. At this point, like, everything that's happened and everything, Kane is just like, I won't be able to continue on with school. So you can see, like, that definitely is hitting him, because they try to paint him as a very bright mind that doesn't come from an affluent family that has gotten a lot of loans, a lot of this, like a lot of grants and stuff to get into school. And what's that?
Oh, I said I feel him.
And this is like, you're teetering. You got to write a written apology about this stuff. You got to stop hanging out with that West kid and everything, or you're going to be going down the same road as that damn Finkelstein shit kid, and
But it doesn't hit right. Like, this whole scene doesn't hit. It hits very oddly because he's like in this office and he's having this conversation with him about what this his roommate's doing and stuff. But there's no proof of any of it. So, and then the dean's just like, "Yep, we're just going to do these things and you're in trouble. And now I want your apology." And the whole time I'm just like, what?
But that's from the deleted scene that I said, like, for us,
I know.
Yes, it would make a lot more sense if we knew that.
But it doesn't make any sense without that.
Correct. It's abrupt.
Exactly. And it's just there to push along the
But it doesn't make
storyline.
any sense at this point because, like, you're not being told these things ahead of time. And they're just like, okay, so now this dean's all of a sudden taking all this stuff away and he wants an apology, which makes no fucking sense. And then he has no proof of anything, but...
You girls want the 2.5 hour cut. You scream for it. You yearn for it. I get
It
it.
sounds like Steph wants it.
She does.
Yeah.
She
He has a lot of questions.
Yeah, I do, but that's all the time.
she wants the director's cut.
Yeah. More dicks, yes.
Yes, more wang for my buck.
Yeah.
But then we cut to Kane sneaking west into the Miskatonic University morgue, and we see the security guard reading a porn mag. I believe it's called Boudoir.
No, he was reading a porn mag, but that's not what it was called. I can't remember what it was called. Yeah.
But they sneak in, and it's time to reanimate some humans. So West and Kane are going through. I have it written down as a deep freeze. It's obviously not a freezer, but like cold storage.
Oh my god!
Yeah, they just got them in a deep freeze. It's like, nope, this is salami. Nope. Hey, here's that. Well, he does make the references like, here's that meatball you're looking for and everything. And they go through and he finds that there's a John Doe here, so no one's going to be looking for him. It seems as though he died from heart failure, so he just came in this evening, so he's super fresh. This is the freshest possibility that we've got, so we're going to do it to him, and gives Kane the tape recorder and basically has him taking the notes, and the entry is for October 10th, 10:33 p.m., and they will be administering 15 cc's of reagent. So they take the needle full of glowing liquid, which is actually the liquid from glow sticks. They just broke open glow sticks and poured it into these things, and that's what they used for it. Which, like, this is the charm of these kind of movies, is you're like, man, how did they do that? It's like, it's exactly how you would have done it. It's like, oh, all this like gross stuff and blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's literally ground beef from the butcher shop. It's literally cow intestines that they got from the butcher shop. And like, it's, we can't make it, but you know what? We can go down here and just get garbage.
Yep.
Yeah. Just get scrapped.
I love it. Like, we need to make this film. So they administer the 15 cc's, and then the dean and Meg show up at the morgue, and they show up at the hospital at the university, and they feel that they're here or something. So the dean is going to come and give him a what for, and at this time we cut back, and West is not happy with his results yet, so he is going to add an extra 20 cc's of reagent. So we're now up to 35 cc's. And this is when John Doe rises. And this guy previously had played as Arnold Schwarzenegger's double in films. At this very time, I believe they said he was playing his double in Terminator. So...
Yeah, he's really muscular. So.
And he's super naked, just like Arnie in the beginning of that movie, like, so they just showing off them buns.
Yeah.
You're really good at pointing out buff naked men.
Oh, it's what I'm into. It's one of my hobbies, So we got sexy John Doe just fucking up West and Kane in here, throwing them all over the place, beating them. And he goes to charge at Kane, and Kane's standing in front of the door. Dean Halsey is knocking on the door like, who's in there? What are you guys doing? Stop it. And sexy John Doe goes bursting through the door, smashing the Dean, and jumps down on the door, throws the door to the side, grabs him, starts throwing him all over the place, smashing him up
Tearing off
against the
his
wall.
fingers with his teeth.
Yeah, bites off his fingers. Did you not see this in the cut that you
I
watched?
don't remember.
Oh.
I don't think so.
It's
No.
You're gonna have to watch the unrated version. It's so much
No,
better.
you're not.
Oh,
No.
it's so good.
No.
Well,
I'm good.
if she didn't see that, she must not have seen how they deal with. Like, did they cut this? I'm very interested. I've never seen an uncut version of this film. So
I watched it on Tubi. It may be in there, and I just don't remember it.
you're the trauma. You're just repressing it.
Or I just wasn't paying close enough attention.
So he's
This was a long scene, so if you saw it, you would have remembered
Probably.
it.
Yep.
I remember that this happened, just not those details.
Yeah,
so I probably just kind of faded out.
Yep, he bites Halsey's fingers off, and then Wes shows up with a bone saw from behind and pushes it
Punctures
through
him.
his back and out his chest,
Yep.
killing
yeah,
him.
that happened.
Yep.
Okay, so they did show that on Tubi. That's good.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
Tubi is the only way that you can stream this movie currently, which is sad, personally. But you can.
Nope.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah, I was surprised.
You can snatch up the DVD and Blu-ray for not too much. The Arrow video release Blu-ray of it is pretty nice, and it comes with a lot of nice extra features and stuff. And I think it's like $20. So definitely, I really am into like a lot of these re-releases through like decent studios. There's like Severin and Vinegar Syndrome and Arrow, and they clean up these old movies to 2K and 4K restoration.
Oh, wow.
And then just put all of these like documentary bits and unreleased stuff. It's really cool. So there's a lot of that stuff. So I have like the Vinegar Syndrome From Beyond, which is these guys' next film and stuff, and it's got all sorts of cool stuff.
So is Vinegar Syndrome the company that is restoring these things?
Yep. They do a lot of like exploitation horror films, and like old sleaze movies and stuff like that. Okay. So they actually like re-release like old like 70s porn films and stuff too, and like all the how it was made, and like it's pretty interesting. Like I've never actually watched any of those, but like it's definitely like we're gonna take this this 70s 80s exploitation era, we're gonna clean these things up, we're gonna give them the release that they feel it deserves and get it out there. And it's like a small group of people that do it. So Halsey's dead now, and West is like, this it just keeps getting better for him. He's like, shit, man, this is the freshest it's gonna ever get. The dude literally died in front of us. So this is the closest dead body for us to get instead of actually killing somebody. Like we just happened upon this. So he's, due to freshness, he's going to give Halsey 12 cc's of reagent. And at this point, Kane. I always want to say Dean Kane because that's Superman.
Yes.
He is a full-on broken man. He kind of collapses down to the floor, and you just watch him go through it in this movie. So I feel bad for him. I don't think that you guys are too like woohoo about his acting or anything, but I think he does a decent enough job. And Dr. Halsey is back. And oh yeah, his daughter's here too. So he's returning back and kind of strangles Kane a bit, and then as Meg comes in and everything, he jumps up and hides in the corner, and Wes lies to her and security about him basically going nuts, and he was causing all these problems, and like he's just lost his mind. And Kane goes into shock at this time. He literally just falls down onto his side, and West kind of covers him with a blanket and explains, like, you're just going into shock. It'll be all right.
Just be quiet over there.
Cuts to Halsey in a straitjacket covered in blood. And
no big deal.
Dr. Hill is here to help. And the creepiest way, he's basically just like, hey, sign off the rights to your dad to Meg, and I just want to do some exploratory surgery. And for some reason, Hill has a two-way mirror with a padded cell attached to his office.
Yeah.
Just in his office, he has a two-way mirror, one-way mirror, sorry, into a padded cell. So I guess he does this a lot.
I mean, psychology in like the 70s and 80s wasn't great, so I'm sure he's not the only doctor that has something like
oh yeah, he just he basically, like, he's like this great accredited, like, or whatever, lauded doctor throughout the world, it seems, and like his fix for everything is just lobotomy.
I think they refer to him earlier in the movie as a brain researcher, which I thought was really funny. We're not even doing neuroscience.
No.
It's just brain researcher.
Yeah.
It's rocket surgery and it's brain science.
Right.
So Barbara asks Kane what they did to her dad, and he explains that he's not insane, that he's actually dead. And West is down in his lab, kind of doing his mad scientist things. And Dr. Hill shows up. Hill knows that the dean is dead and that he's been reanimated, and West is to blame. And West is not enthused about Hill being here. Hill wants West's work and findings. He's basically just blackmailing him. He's like, you're going to give me all your stuff, all this stuff, like, I won't turn you in for it, but you're going to pass on all your findings to me, and I'm going to be famous for these things. Definitely, like, leaning into the fact that he had been stealing Hans Gruber's work and plagiarizing it as his own. Hill threatens West, and he wants to see, he says, let's see my new serum at work. So he's already just like, this is mine. I came in, he's just like pissing on everything. Basically, it's mine. And while he's looking in the magnifying magnifying glass? Microscope. There it is. I'm sorry, I'm not a brain researcher. West kind of like starts slinking off to the shadows, and he grabs a shovel, smacks him in the head,
decapitates him
with the shovel. Yeah. What's really nice though is I like the back and forth, like when he's looking through the microscope and stuff, he's like, I will be famous, and when he hits him with the shovel, he just calls him plagiarist, and then decapitates him. And I guess we have Tasha's favorite scene of the movie at this point.
Yeah.
So what happens?
It actually was. So what happened? He puts his head in a bain marie, like a big roasting pan almost, but it just keeps falling over, and he's so particular about placing it back up, and it just keeps tipping. And I don't know why, but that part was the part that made me chuckle the most.
Yeah, he grabs one of those things that like waitresses and stuff. Go ahead. Yeah,
I forgot about that. The receipt holder with the big, like, the steak, and then plops his head on the sharp part so it stays up.
And I've heard
resourceful.
I've heard in past that scene was ad-libbed.
Oh, cool.
That it was supposed to stand there, and it fell over a couple times, and Jeffrey Combs, who played Herbert, just saw it and was like, this is, I've got it. The head's supposed to stand, so he just like, fuck it, just smacks it on, and Stuart Gordon was just like, yep, I like that. Yep, so Hill's head is now on the note pike, and West reanimates Hill. So he gives the head some reagent, and he gives the body some reagent for some reason.
But the body in the stomach, not in the spine, which is like, what?
Yeah, it's definitely loosey-goosey with a lot of its logic, because he refers to like you have to put this into the brainstem and all this stuff. He kind of does it with the head. Doesn't matter with this body. Also, when they killed Sexy John Doe, like they kind of make it seem like it has to be like death through like severing of it of the brainstem or something like. But they just go through so it's just. Yeah, it's an 80s splatter film. Like trying to get too deep into it just kind of ruins it.
Just don't ask questions.
Just boobs and gore. What else do you want? And dicks. But yeah, so Hill speaks, and his first two words are "you bastard," and West is then knocked out by the body of Hill. So Dr. Hill's body just comes up and just grabs West by the head, just smashes his head on the table, knocks him out. And West wakes up. All of his work has been stolen by Hill. So Kane comes down and is like, what happened? And West is like hysterical and tells him that he killed Hill. He had to kill him. And well, Hill's dead. Well, not anymore. And now Hill is running amok in the hospital in what can only it just feels, it's so campy. It's so goofy. Like it's literally just a head in this pan with a headless body walking it around and stuff. And he's trying to get like blood to pour into the pan to kind of rejuvenate him a little bit and everything. And it's so ridiculous.
That's a great word for it.
And Hill looks through the mirror, the one-way mirror, to Dean Halsey, and Halsey's like all like weirded out and looks like he's been lobotomized and everything, and tells him that it's time for you to come out now. And what I have written down is we cut to legitimately 3 raccoons in an overcoat walk into a morgue. This scene fucking kills me every time, because you see it earlier in the movie that there is like this plaster face where you can break it apart. It's like a medical like tool where it shows like the brain and all this stuff. And they just use that, put a surgical mask over it. And he's just walking in. The security guy is like, oh, how's it going, Dr. Hill? He just walks in. It's so stupid. I love it, though.
It is.
The Dean is now here to kill Kane and steal Meg. So Dean, like I said, has been talking to Meg about like what had happened. And this all happens like in a night. It seems like it is just like, go, 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 go. Mm-hmm. The Dean steals Meg, and Kane's head is smashed up against the wall, and we cut to Meg on a table, and shit's gonna get weird.
That's an understatement. This was fucking disgusting.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it.
You girls can go take a restroom break. I will talk about it then. Again, if you are interested in co-hosting Pod of the Dead, send me a message on Facebook, on Instagram, under Pod of the Dead. My name is Nicholas. I'd love to hear from you. Mm-hmm. On to our scheduled programming.
We love you. We love you too, honey.
I love you too. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, come on. This movie is great.
It's not for the pod anymore, I guess.
I'm not down for rape culture, so especially by severed heads.
Implying that I am now.
I mean, it's a fucked up movie, and this part is literally the most just horrific part.
Yeah. I'm not going, woo, Dr. Kane. Yeah.
No, that's true.
Or not Dr. Kane, Dr. Hill. But
just talk about it.
So Meg gets thrown down the table, and her dad, who is now basically a ghoul for Dr. Hill, strips her naked and then Dr. Hill sets his own head down by her and is just like, yes, yes, and just staring her down as his decapitated body cops a feel on her naked body. Meg then wakes up to Hill basically raping her, which moves to full-on raping her by taking his head and kissing down her body to the point where he puts his decapitated head between her legs. And
it's just so wrong. Every part
and
of this
he's quoted saying, as he goes down to this point and everything, he's like, yes, scream, more pleasure, and begins to get ready to, I believe Stuart Gordon said, I think we've done the first visual pun of a head giving head in this film. So you don't see it happen. It's like getting right there. And then
but you see enough of it. You do see you see him kiss her and get blood on her. You see him touch her boobs, naked boobs. You see her father rip her clothes off. Like, then you see his head go down between her legs. And the whole time my head is going, are we really doing this?
Yes.
Like, was there any woman in any capacity making any part of this movie watching it going, maybe we shouldn't probably do this because this is a little disgusting?
But that's what makes it an exploitative movie. Go ahead. That's what an exploitation movie is in my mind. It's just gratuitous boobs and objectification, and that this is kind of like top tier of that.
And Barbara Gordon has said that she does not regret doing this at all because she knew what she was in for, and that the film was going to be shocking, and she saw all the naked men in the film and felt like, well, I'm not gonna back down now. If we're trying to be shocking, we're going to be shocking.
Well, like, I give that movie credit for this, is like, because a lot of movies during like the 70s and the 80s and even some in the 90s where it was just like the tit fest, where it was just like showing boobs left and right. This movie really hits almost an equality on what you're getting. Like, they're not giving you all these just perfect, beautiful bodies. They're giving you a range of body types and, different looks. Like, they're not hitting it at like this like model-esque body that they want to show you to make it like titillation. It's just more along the lines of just it being nudity, not pornographic.
Yeah.
And it is definitely, what's the way to put it? Knowing now that it's about the pure id and everything, because like you even go back, I think I missed it. Dean or Kane, goddamn it, Dean Kane. Kane goes Dan. Kane goes and gets a file out of Hill's office that is specifically about Meg, and it's got clippings of her hair and clothing. So like this dude is already creepy, like wanting her and all this stuff. And then now that he is just pure id, he is just pure like desire and everything, and nothing's going to stop him. I mean, that's kind of, he has no one to answer to now. Like, he's just going to get what he wants, no matter how disgusting it is. And I understand, well, we don't have to show it, and I don't want to see it. I understand that like aspect of it, but in the sense of like, we're going to make a fucking shocking movie, and this is what it is. They do not pull any punches in it.
No, that's true.
So at this point, let's see here. Yeah, will you love me? More passion. And it's at this time that West shows up and is like, so you're brought back to life and this is what you do. Trysting with, was it like bubble-headed bimbos or something like that? And he says like, no one would believe a talking head. Why don't you just get a job in a sideshow? Hill explains that basically you've walked right into my trap and like the most evil, like, ha ha ha, you thought that I wasn't prepared, but guess what? It was me, Dio, and I was always prepared. And his zombie backup shows up. So all the fucking corpses in the morgue rise. They're all lobotomized, reanimated subjects. And because of that, it allows me to control their will, the power I've always dreamed of. So you're getting more into his character of just wanting to basically be a god, like wanting everything, no questions asked. I want power. I want sexual subjects purely for my own desires and stuff like that.
Well, this movie builds to like a fever pitch, which I really like about the movie because that's one of the positives. Like it builds slow, and then it's slowly adding pieces to the puzzle, and then you're building and building and building and building. So instead of like an instant explosion, you're peaking the mountain, and this is where you're at that mountain, and it's kind of like, oh shit, what is going on next? Like it is insanity. Like it pulls no punches, that's for sure.
Yeah, like it literally, like once you think it's over, it's like, no, there's a lot more going.
Yeah.
So it's at this time that West and Kane are fighting off the lobotomized, reanimated subjects, and the Dean Halsey saves the day because it's at this point, kind of going back to like the id, like he's a father, and what his instincts are is to protect his daughter, and he sees Hill as a threat to his daughter. So he goes and steals Hill's head and begins to crush his skull, which, because of his, from the deleted scene, his post-hypnotic suggestions and stuff being, it causes pain to the other ones. I don't understand why, because like prior to knowing any of that, I was like, is fucking Hill like psychic or some shit?
That's what I wondered too. Yep.
So he begins to crush his skull, smashes it, and like the smashing part and the throwing, it literally is just ground beef at that point that they sculpted into a head, and he just smashes it. It's full of like blood gel. They just throw it up against the wall. So.
And this is when Nick is laughing in our house. Like he's just laughing at this. And he's like, and he looks to me and he's like, didn't you think that's funny? And I looked at him and I was like, no.
And I felt no shame. I felt no shame. I was like, whatever. So West is like, I'm going to check my theory on overdose. And he puts like 2 massive syringes of reagent into the back of Hill's still reanimated body. And all the parts of the body now begin to reanimate separately. So it falls down, the chest, like, and it, like, when you're talking about the fever pitch, it's like, oh, all the zombies. Yeah. Now it just keeps getting crazier. Yep. Like the chest cavity explodes and the intestines shoot out of the body, wrapping around West's face, which
too much.
They said that they shot this in reverse to get the effect and everything. And the guts begin to like drag West in, and Kane and Meg escape from the morgue, and they're battling zombies. They get to the elevator, and one last burnt zombie grabs Meg by the throat. This zombie was actually played by an amputee to pull off this effect. Kane runs and grabs an axe and cuts his arm off. So the entire arm that's grabbing Meg by the throat is all prosthetic. So when he cuts it off, it's the amputee just coming back. And he has to pull the hand off the throat, but Meg has expired. So he scoops her up, rushes her to the emergency room, and begins to try and revitalize. I don't fucking know. Brain science?
Resuscitate.
There we go.
Sure.
Resuscitate her.
I'm not a brain. What was it?
A brain researcher.
Yeah, I'm not a brain researcher.
But at this point, he's doing CPR.
Yeah.
Well, she stopped breathing.
So you were right stuff was right. Resuscitate. Yeah.
Resuscitation.
Yeah, he's
watch some. We need to watch some Grey's Anatomy, honey. You can get with some Mr. McDreamy. He's a brain surgeon. He will teach you all you need to know.
So the nurse from previous says that she has a fractured trachea and that she is dead. Like, in the quickest thing, like, they're just like, nope, she's dead. Like, it's over. Like, they don't need, like,
because they magically already know that without doing anything like that. Okay.
Can you break a trachea?
Yes, you can collapse. You can collapse it.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Crush it. Yeah.
Kane gives his like goodbye kiss to Meg and says that, you know, like, he's like crying, and he kind of comes to this realization. He goes to the bag that Wes threw to him earlier and gets out the reagent, and in like one of the like most darkly beautiful, but like at the same time, it's like, motherfucker, you've seen what's been happening.
Yeah.
He administers the reagent. Yeah, very selfish. He administers the reagent to Meg, and his last words of the film, as the music, the Psycho-esque music, comes back, and he just says, "I love you." And we get black screen, and we hear Meg scream, and we roll credits.
Yep. Well, and then when we were watching some of the like commentary and stuff from the people who made this movie, they were talking about how one of the reasons why they made it was like, well, what would you do? You would do anything to keep somebody that you love alive, no matter what it did to them. And like, this is what he's like justifying this. And I was like, nope, never. That's selfish.
But in the moment, like, I mean, at that time, like, it's hard to say. Like,
at that
realistically,
time, though, it's like, definitely not, because of what they just went through.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, at that time of not thinking straight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. But it's like, I understand that, but what they just went through is just insanity. Yeah. And then I keep going back to the whole intestine scene. And I just, that is like, out of the whole movie, like, a lot of the graphics were really good in this movie for the age and the time and the practical effects. Yes, it's very gory, and like all these other pieces, like, it is well made in that aspect. I don't like the plot line. It's not for me. But then the part that just kind of almost in a weird way ruined it for me was the attack of the intestines. Okay. Because it was like, you're taking something that's already just batshit crazy, and then you're just taking it over that little extra, the oomph, and then you're making it even more unbelievable. And I'm like, I mean, they do that in The Thing, and they do that in some other things and other movies, but in this movie, that was the little piece that just had me going, I can't believe I'm watching this.
It jumps the shark for you at that time.
Yeah, like, that was the piece. Like, a lot of the other pieces were like, okay, I can get past this. Yes, this is a little cheesy. Yes, this is whatever. But that piece was kind of like, why is there an intestine legitimately attacking a person and pulling him through a wall? Like, I understand the concept of it, but too much.
I'm not going to try and change your opinion on that. Like,
I know you're not.
it's amazing, and I love it.
And as we're watching this, I'm telling Nick the whole time, Tasha, that your sister's going to freaking hate this movie. She's going to hate this movie. She does not like gore. No. She's going to hate this.
And I was like, I don't know, maybe she'll see the haha in it, and it'll win her over. No. I was wrong.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Nothing to apologize for. As you said, as I said, there are no sacred movies. That's literally why this podcast is what it is. If I wanted to have 3 people like that were all just me and stuff, I would just do it by myself. The point of this is to get conflicting opinions on films there, so like people can get different viewpoints. Like, the worst thing realistically was like Scream. We all love it. Yeah. And it's just like, I mean, I really like that episode and everything, but it's one of those things that's like, it's just a lot of us going, yeah, this movie fucking rules. And
it is brilliant.
It's all good guys, no bad guys, and good guys are only as good as their bad guys. So I will actually start our reviews of this movie because I believe I'm the only one that's going to give it good reviews and a good score. So I'll start here, and then you guys can just turn off the episode. You don't have to listen. You don't have to listen to these two, their final episode, like it's all good.
This is where we just walk out.
Yeah.
Nope. So, no. In all seriousness, though, I do love this movie. I love Jeffrey Combs in this. He plays some spots in other movies that I really like From Beyond, and he plays the psycho doctor in House on Haunted Hill from the 90s and stuff like that. And I really like his portrayal of Herbert West, this just real dry, arrogant kind of guy. The special effects are, especially for its budget, I saw anywhere from $900,000 to $1.3 million. So I just said $1 million when I wrote it, to see what they were able to do with that budget and everything. The kind of DIY attitude of just like, we're going to make this and no one's going to edit this. The editor is going to edit it down from a 2.5 hour movie to an 82-minute movie, but we're going to horrify people and we're going to make people laugh, and it's going to be shocking and revolting, and we're not going to apologize. And I love this movie for that, because of that kind of way of making the movie. All that being said, if you like this movie, I suggest watching From Beyond, which is Stuart Gordon, the director of this, his next movie, which was produced by Brian Usna, who produced this movie, which stars Jeffrey Combs, who is in this movie, and it's another Lovecraft story. So, and Barbara Crampton is in that as well. So it's kind of like a lot of the similar people go into that, and it's a separate story. But all that being said, I give 1985's ReAnimator 8 syringes of reagent out of 10. So whoa. I will just turn off my headphones and allow you ladies to bury my baby.
I'll go.
All right.
Okay, go for it, Tasha.
So, as Steph already alluded to, I'm not a huge fan of gratuitous gore, and this movie is full of it. Just in general, if it had a tagline coming from me, it would be just too much. That's. I'm so sorry, Nick.
That's fair. That's fair.
Off and listen.
Well, I don't have to read anymore.
No. The acting, like I said, it's a campy horror comedy. That's not my jam. I don't really care for all of the blood and gore and the nudity, and the acting was subpar. The storyline was so patchy. It makes sense now that it was cut down so much, but I'm gonna give it a 2.
Oh my god.
Like I said, honestly, the only part I liked of it was the head, and that was like a 4-second maybe scene.
What did you give Buffy?
A 1.
A 1.
She gave it a 1.
Yeah.
I just went and looked at all of our ratings, so she gave it a 1.
So it's better than Buffy.
Yep.
I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't watch it again.
That's a high bar.
Yeah. So.
Oh god. Okay. I guess it's my turn. I kind of already gave my insight as to what I thought of the movie overall, but I guess I'll give a little bit more. I felt like the acting was a little over the top and not convincing. And I understand that that's the point of the movie. And while I like that in certain movies, which is strange, I love the movie Cry Baby, and that movie is campy as fuck. And that's not a horror movie though. But I grew up on that and I really loved it. This movie, while it didn't mostly offend me or cause any issues, it does have some spots in it that I was just kind of like, I would not want to watch this in a normal movie because it just makes me uncomfortable. And it was okay. I would not recommend this unless you're the person that is really into heavier gore and you don't care if there's much of a plot. And what other parts to it?
Oh, you want heavy gore and not much of a plot? I have the German splatter film, The Burning Moon, back here if you'd like to.
I thought you were done talking.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I thought you ran away.
This is just the two of us now. Nick is
I know. Nick is gone. He doesn't want to hear this.
Yeah.
So, anyway, no, yeah, it just has all those pieces that just didn't really appeal to me. And I do agree with what I said earlier, that if you like movies or like watching shows where people are just consistently getting hurt and you think that's hilarious, this probably would work for you. But it doesn't work for me because I didn't laugh a single time in this movie. I didn't get the humor out of it, and I really love comedies. This just didn't hit for me. And I can appreciate it for the budget that it had, the quality of the gore that it did have, and its equality in terms of using a vast amount of people and their, body types and everything like that. I really liked that. So I'm going to go, I'm going to be nicer than Tasha, but I'm going to say a 4-star.
That's what I figured you were going to say.
And that's way higher than my Buffy, because Buffy was like a 2 for me. And then I don't know, I think this is the second highest rated one that I've done, lowest rated. That's what I meant, not highest rated.
That gives us a 12 out of 30 from the Trio of Terror.
That gives us a 14. You were an 8.
I can't math. I have all the numbers in front of me.
Yeah, it's a 14, which comes out to 47%.
A good passing grade.
And I went into this wanting to like it.
Me too.
Well, now this is one thing that I would like you girls mentioned. This is not your cup of tea.
Yeah.
That aside, if you do like dark comedy, gore, 80s camp, low budget stuff, if someone was talking about that, would you recommend this film to that person?
Yes, if 80s camp was the overarching theme. Like, I love 80s camp horror movies, then this one would be like cup of tea, I think.
Right on.
Because I think that's the biggest part of this movie that doesn't resonate with me.
I get it.
I agree. I would just say, if there's a movie like this that somebody's looking for, I'll just be like, talk to Nick, because he's going to tell you what you're going to like. Because I'm not going to be that person. Like, do I think this movie could hit for certain people? Yeah, but you're going to know way more on that spectrum than I am. Yeah. So I'm just going to defer to you.
I was just kind of using it as like, it's not your taste, but if it's someone's taste, like, because like, even like kind of going back to Buffy and stuff, can you see a time that you would recommend that movie to anybody?
I don't think so.
Like that. No. That's what I'm talking about, is like, if you run into somebody that's like talking about like just weird, gross out kind of like gory horror films and stuff, you could be like, oh, well.
Yeah. It has redeeming qualities. Like, I just think that I am not the target audience for this in any capacity. But I'm also not the target audience for like the movie like Oculus, but I can understand that movie and appreciate it in a different level than I can like this movie. But yeah, Buffy doesn't really have any overall redeeming qualities in comparison to like this movie does for people who are specifically looking for this.
All right. So, ReAnimator, Trio of Terror, give it a 43%. And again, mileage will vary. This is just our 3-headed review.
Monster.
So, you could watch it and fucking hate it. It could be the worst, absolute worst movie you've ever seen in your life. This could also be your favorite movie you've ever seen, as could any other film that we've seen. By no means.
Correct.
You're just not going to like
except Buffy.
Hey, we read a 10 out of 10 review for that movie. There are people that fucking love that thing. We are not those people.
That's fair.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
But that brings us to the end of our episode, which we will be talking about what we will be watching next week. For next week, rather. So, Steph, would you like to tell our listeners what we'll be watching?
Is this Barbarians?
We will be watching Barbarians.
Is there an S? I don't think there's an S.
I don't think it's Barbarians. I think it's Barbarian.
It's just a single Barbarian.
Single Barbarian, yeah.
not to be confused with Conan the Barbarian. This is, I believe, 2002 release. It has no physical release, which is absolutely...
Barbarian?
22.
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah, that's what I thought I said.
You said 2002.
Oh, good Lord. My brain.
This is a newer movie.
Yeah, this came out last year, 2022.
Yes.
There is no physical release, or there's possibly no looking for a physical release because they just put it on streaming, and that hurts my heart because I want to get... I like having the films that we do in the collection. Mm-hmm. So I believe you can find this on HBO Max or Max now. Mm-hmm. And it also might be on Paramount or Peacock, one or the other. But you can find this on a few different streaming services. But we will be watching that for next week. And hopefully you don't hold this against me or the girls on our review of this film, as if you hate this movie, you're going to hate my take on it. If you love this movie, you're going to hate their take on it. But it's all in good fun. Again, no sacred movies. But for Pot of the Dead, I am Nicholas.
I am Stephanie.
I'm Natasha.
Come back and listen to us, or else.